It's been a really long time since I came on here and really talked about my sobriety. And I was talking to somebody last night and I realized I should update more because I am always getting new followers who don't know my journey and I'm kind of all over the place. I know about what I post, but today is day 1572 since I decided that I was going to break up with booze. I made the decision to share it publicly because I knew that everything that you share publicly, you are more accountable to. And I know this because I'd started my health and fitness journey in 2012. And there were times that things got hard. There was times that I wanted to give up. But because I knew people were watching, I knew that I couldn't quit, that I was wanting to set an example. And so it was no different when I decided that I was going to give up the party girl lifestyle and give up booze, that I had to have some form of accountability, especially because I didn't have anybody pushing me to it. It wasn't like my husband said, "Oh, I'm going to leave you if you don't stop drinking." It wasn't like I had pending, legal charges. I've been part of so many of these groups where I see people at different varying levels of alcoholism and addiction. And I'm not somebody that was going to lose their job. I wasn't somebody who'd been arrested multiple times or lost their license. I wasn't somebody who was hospitalized. It was just no longer serving me, and it was not making my relationships any better. And I wasn't where I was supposed to be at in my mind, and wasn't where I wanted to be. So I gave that life up. But in doing so, I needed somebody to hold me accountable because I chose not to go to any type of program because I know that there's a lot of people out there who've had success with Alcoholics Anonymous in the town that we lived in, or we live back in now. I didn't feel like everything that I said would stay anonymous. Maybe it would have been, maybe it wouldn't, but I decided to do it on my own. And personally, for myself only, I'm not knocking anybody who's had success with AA or NA or anything like that, but knowing that I had to stay accountable to myself and not depend on somebody else because I had a long history of codependency, it's been better for me. Because unfortunately, I've seen people who have been sponsors and they've fallen off, and it affects those people that they've been sponsoring, having to feel dependent on going to meetings or something. For me, would have just, for me, kept on that codependent nature. And so I knew that I had to do this for me. And it was very, very hard. It was so tough because everybody around me, I had had a relationship that hinged around partying. My best friend, we had always partied together. Everything was alcohol related. Luckily for me, she decided to get sober on October 5th. I got sober on October 25th. I say luckily for me, but it actually sucked. Have you ever been like, I know for me, like one of my good friends, we were like trying to get pregnant at the same time. We're like, oh, how cool would it be, if we were pregnant at the same time and had babies at the same time? Well, our children were born 5 months apart, and it really didn't actually work out well because we were both living our crazy busy lives with infants. And so we actually drifted apart, and it wasn't this, great thing to do together. And for my best friend and I, we actually hung out less because we were trying to figure out who we were. We were trying to reestablish new routines, and it was just weird. So luckily we got past that. We figured out our shit on our own. Everything's fine, but it wasn't as great as what I think anticipated. But everybody else around me wasn't supportive, didn't actually pretty much ditched me. And that was hard. And that was one of my biggest fears. But I realized once the alcohol was not present in my life, that those people weren't the right people. I remember declaring I need to cut back on drinking. And there was this one person who would always show up with a case of beer. And I was that girl who would drink a case of beer. I was the girl that would sit there and have my kids be like, "Mom, can we go home? I'm tired. Can we go home?" And I'd be like, "One more beer." I was the wife that whenever I would sit outside with my husband after dinner, literally we would hurry up and eat dinner, just go outside to drink, that he'd be like, "All right, it's time to go to bed." I'm like, "Just go get, go to the store and get another 6-pack or 12-pack or just one more beer." And it was 1:00 in the morning. I was that person. I was 0 or 100, and it just wasn't working for me. And so I had to completely remove myself from that. And it was very, very difficult. I'm not going to say that, it wasn't lonely, because it was. My husband decided that he was going to keep drinking. He didn't think he had a problem. And I was mad at him for it for a long time, because I'm like, you should support me. But he did support me. He didn't go buy me alcohol. He didn't tell me I wasn't any fun without alcohol. He wasn't trying to tempt me. He was just on his own journey. And I had to realize and take responsibility for myself. And it was the same thing, that when I decided to get healthy, start working out, eating better, that I had to do it for me. I couldn't force him. And then he came along, and then he's had different varying levels of commitment. And the same thing happened with his drinking, is that once I stopped drinking, we stopped going to the bar. He started drinking less. He still drinks, and I can say that today's been like 4 years, 3 months, and 19 days, and I've only seen him drunk like maybe 5 times. I'm heavily buzzed or like drunk. So it did help, but it has been difficult. And the first year was kind of like, I'm going to show you. That's always been my MO, is that like everything that I've ever done that was successful was because somebody made it hard on me to accomplish. So I've always had that fuck you mentality. I'm going to do it if you say I can't do it. And I did. And then my mind has played tricks on me ever since then, because I'm like, well, I went a year, I went 2 years, I went 3 years. Well, maybe I could just have a drink. And then as soon as I fantasize about that, I'm like, yeah, but Mindy, could you just have one drink? And I'm like, I probably could. But then I'm like, what's the point? And then I realized just right then and there, I still have a problem. If I can't understand how just having one drink is makes sense, then I would easily become that person, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year later, who's begging my husband to go to the store before they close to buy another case. So I've had to completely cut that out. I've shared it publicly, and there's been so many people who are like, you share too much, you post too much, blah, 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 about my marriage, about my, mental illness, about my alcoholism, addiction in the past, all these different things, about my fitness. You post too many bikini pictures and sports bra pictures. I just am like, fuck you. Because on the daily, I get people who say, I need your message. I need that support. And they know that they can come to me and open up and share. And it's 100% between me and them. And I only share what's worked for me. I only share what they ask for. I don't give unsolicited advice. Like, I don't have a problem with other people who drink. I see people who I think, maybe you're drinking a little too much, but not my business. You'll figure it out when you figure it out. But I wanted to share something because I had somebody that's reached out to me several times, and she's really trying so hard to not use alcohol as a coping mechanism. And as we were talking, I realized that maybe some of you are sober curious. Maybe you guys are trying to get sober or cut back and you're having a hard time. Maybe you're struggling with the mental illness aspect. So I thought I'd share with you guys what I shared with her. So I was finally diagnosed with depression about 15 months after my daughter was born. I was diagnosed with postpartum. Looking back now with all the therapy I've had and all the research I've done and the people I've connected with, depression and anxiety and my mental illness stemmed from early on. Whether it was genetic, whether it was environmental because I was an abused child, maybe it was just from birth because of being adopted and all the trauma from there. I don't know. Anyways, I was finally diagnosed when my daughter was about 15 months old. I was put on Paxil. When the first person I came to tell were my adopted parents. And I was so excited to have a diagnosis, be like, finally, I know what's wrong with me. I'm not a shitty mom. These thoughts are normal. It's just hormonal. It'll be fixed. And my dad was like, don't you dare tell anybody this. And I was just like, dude, here you go again, raining on my parade. And so there was this shame that I carried with that. And I didn't tell anybody. Fast forward, as a mom of 2, I started really developing severe anxiety, panic attacks. I have to date been on probably 15 different medications. And it wasn't until I got help by psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counselors at a facility that was for behavioral health that they really helped me address hey, maybe I do have a problem with alcohol. But they said, do you really want to get better? And I'm like, fucking of course. I wouldn't have checked myself in here as an inpatient for a week. I wouldn't be showing up every day for an outpatient program and spending 4 hours a day for almost 2 months. And they had prescribed me medication that while I was there for a week, it helped. It made me where I didn't want to kill myself, where I felt like I had hope, where it didn't feel like my chest was going to explode from anxiety and panic attacks. But then once I got home, I started going back to old habits, drinking heavily, and I didn't know why. And they explained to me, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't know this, maybe you care, maybe you don't care. But when you have one alcoholic drink, even like half a drink, half a beer, a mixed drink, a shot, and you're on any type of medication for anxiety or depression or mental illness, it cuts the effectiveness by half. And so I was like, oh, all these years I thought, I'm broken. This medication doesn't work. But I remember taking Lexapro in the afternoon and headed to the bar and drinking, 9 Cosmos and getting just wasted. I remember all of that. And this was the same time none of this was working. So I was like, maybe had I not been drinking, maybe it would have worked better. So that's what got me kind of started thinking about maybe I should cut back on my drinking. So, and in September of 2015, I decided to cut back. I gave myself 5 passes to drink, and I drank 4 times that month. The final day was on the day before my husband's birthday. We were in Miami. We were partying hard. We started drinking Red Bull and vodka at 4 p.m. on the 24th, and we ended up at a club and not getting home till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I don't even remember the last couple hours there. I don't remember the picture he took. I don't remember driving home. I don't remember going to bed. But I remember waking up the next day and being like, this is horrible. It was his actual birthday, and I could barely get myself off the couch. I worked from home, and I needed to set some things up for some clients and for some groups, and I couldn't even think straight. And I posted from my best friend's couch saying, I am never drinking again. And people still to this day remember when I posted that. And so once I stopped drinking, the medication started working. And I've been on the same medication with a few little changes when I moved back to California, and they were like, we don't like this medication, but now I'm back in Texas, and they're like, hey, we know it worked, you're back on it. But since I've not been drinking, like, I've been okay. Like, I went through major depression when I was in California because I was away from my friends, my family. I didn't want to go back there to begin with. The person who lured us back there lured us with lies and let us down. But I didn't turn back to alcohol, and for the most part, everything stayed okay. And now that I'm back in my habitat where I'm happy, I'm fine. My medication is working. And some people say, I don't believe in medication. I don't understand that, because I just truly don't understand that. I don't like taking pills. Maybe it's because I was somebody who loved drugs. I would take like 10 ecstasy pills at once and be fine. So maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I don't have a problem taking medication if it makes it where I don't lose my shit, where I feel semi-normal, where I can act like a normal person and, just get through the day. I don't know, but it's been working for me, and alcohol no longer has a place in my life. And so I was sharing that with her because she was talking about how she's seeking out a therapist, how she's taking medication, doesn't seem to work. And I'm like, bro, I think I need to tell you this. What she does with that information, I don't know. What you do with this information, I don't know. But I wanted to share that with you because I never knew that. Like, when I went to physicians to being like, this medication doesn't work, I need something else, they never said, like, what's your lifestyle like? When I was going to the doctor being like, I have something wrong with me, and they were running all these blood tests, they never asked, what is your diet like? I'm sorry, but Western medicine, for the most part, I mean, come on. Most of you probably go to the doctor and say, I think this is what's wrong with me. And they just write you out a prescription for antibiotics. They don't ask any questions, whatever. So I feel like it's my duty to tell you if the things that I didn't know. And so another thing that I shared with this lady was that, what are your triggers? What are your triggers? What is it that triggers you, making you want to drink? And this goes with any type of habit that's unproductive or no longer serving you, or you're wanting to change. Is what is making you go back to that? Is it habit? Is it a person? Is it an environment? Is it a song? Is it a smell? Whatever it is. And we kind of dissected it, and we figured out that she's had some trauma that's triggered by, childhood, by certain people in her life. So I, encourage her to find therapy, to seek that out, because everybody, it doesn't matter how normal you think you are, if you don't, or if you're not broken, or if you've never had anything bad happen to you, every person needs an unbiased person to unpack their shit. and to talk to and help them. Our CEO of our company, he shared at one time that he has 2 therapists. I don't think there's anything wrong with him, but it was the same thing. He just needs somebody to talk to them or talk to. And like, we walk around with shit in our fucking brains from the negativity on social media, negativity from our family, negativity at work, financial stress, bad memories, whatever. And most of the time we don't talk about it to the people closest to us because we don't want to burden them. We don't tell people publicly because we don't want them to judge us. So having somebody that has no skin in the game, is there to help you come up with better coping mechanisms, help you figure out your triggers, help you figure out how to get through certain things better. I think that's important. Like, Tony Robbins is one of my favorite people in the universe. I think that he's amazing, and he still has people that, even though he mentors and helps people do amazing things, he still has people that help him. Like, you're never fucking too smart, too old, too rich to need help. And if you think you are, then your ego is talking. So anyways, those are the things that I just wanted to share with you, that I was sharing with somebody recently. I don't have all the answers. I've shared before, I had no help. I really didn't have any support. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have any meetings. I didn't read any books. I didn't listen to any podcasts. I just did it on my own. And I know what worked for me. And I share it with people. And I implore you that if you're curious about this, try it out. Try some of the things that I share. Try meetings if it works for you. Try reading books. But the thing is, overall, you're going to have to make your mind up that you're done with this. You can't say, I hope that I can beat alcohol. Because I hear people this all the time, like, I'd like to lose 100 pounds. I hope that I can, but I'm really worried that I'm not going to be able to because I failed in the past. Well, when you use that tentative fucking language, you're just giving yourself that out. You're already telling yourself that maybe you can. And for me personally, that's what I have a problem with about AA, is and everybody has a different belief, but they teach you that you are powerless when it comes to addiction. I have the fucking power. I made the decision. The same thing with weight loss and everything else. You have the power. Whatever it is that you think has a power over you, that's a limiting belief. And so I refuse to believe that I don't have control. I have control. I think of all the bad mistakes that I've made. Usually drugs and alcohol were involved. Actually, all of them were. But I always knew that it was like, oh shit, this is a bad decision. Fuck it, hold my beer. We have choices. We like to blame people and things and, events for why we do the things we do, because nobody wants to be accountable. Everybody wants that scapegoat, but you aren't powerless. Like, you have the ability to make the right choice. Is it going to happen overnight? Are you going to have slip-ups? Probably, maybe, but that's all part of the process. I posted on my stories yesterday was that, everybody thinks success is like this because nobody sees the bullshit that goes on in the back. I have a friend that was talking about her business, and somebody, sent her a message saying, oh, like, basically that's easy for you to say. You're like one of the top in the company. Bro, you don't even know what it's like and how hard we all have to work. That you may see the accolades, you may see the success, you may see the lifestyle, but you don't see the sacrifice that goes on behind doors. You don't know what's going on in our heads. You don't know how many hours we're putting in. You don't know the feelings that we have. All you see is the success. And I try to keep it real so that people understand that, like, I'm normal. I'm just like you. If I can do it, as cliche as it sounds, then so can you. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, let me know when it comes to fitness, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to mental illness, when it comes to sobriety. I got lots of opinions and lots of advice. Whether it's for you, I don't know. But do not hesitate to reach out to me, because I'm more than happy to use my story. And if I can help at least one person, then it's all worth it.